Hello folks and welcome back to the channel. We are in the Pimax Crystal Light once again, and in this video I'm going to give you 10 reasons why you possibly could upgrade to this headset depending on what you've already got. I'm thinking about users that perhaps have a Vari Aero, Reverb G2, Quest 3, Pico 4, Valve Index, that sort of thing, and maybe even the standard crystal as well. So the first one is of course the Aspheric Lenses, and in the crystal you have very fancy glass Aspheric lenses which produce a very nice eye box or sweet spot, which is really essentially the clarity that you can see looking around with your eyes and not your head. And for whatever reason the Crystal Light has a slightly better vertical sweet spot. Not quite sure why that is the case. I think it might be related to the facial interface, but it is a very nice sweet spot in this thing. And of course with the Aspheric lenses, in my personal humble opinion for flight simulation, they are the best because you get a brighter image. You also get no God rays or glare, which to me is really annoying in other headsets such as the Big Screen Beyond. And now for the second reason. The Crystal Light has the same 2880 by 2880 display as the standard crystal, which is a very nice resolution. It's also very scalable as well, because you can upscale the headset or you can slightly downscale it. In my opinion, 3500 by 4142 is a really nice area where you still get superb visuals but you get a massive jump in performance. That's particularly useful if you're running a 4070 Ti, and even with a 4090 it's still a very nice sort of middle ground to really give you great performance. The upshot is the resolution is still absolutely phenomenal. It's really a good display to use for flight simulation, to read all those tiny gauges. I can see all that text, I can read it all, no problems at all. I don't need to zoom in like that. It's absolutely pin sharp. So I think 2880 by 2880 is a really nice sweet spot at the moment if you consider GPU performance. Also with the panel resolution, this is the third point, is its QLED technology. So with that, perhaps say you're used to a Quest 3, you're going to be absolutely blown away with the depth of colour. It's a lot more vibrant, a lot deeper colours, and overall a lot more believable. It's a very nice display, and I must admit when I do go back to say the Reverb G2 and Quest 3, it's quite a shock. It does look quite washed out, and the Vari Aero as well, might I add. So that's three things. Another reason is local dimming. If you do opt for the local dimming, it means you get near OLED levels of dark colours and black levels. I mean, you're never going to beat OLED, but I must admit this is very close. You may get a little bit of blooming on the edges, but I must admit it is a very nice feature, especially if you really enjoy flying at night. Number 4 is the field of view, which depending on the headset you've come from, say if it's the 8KX, you're going to hate the field of view in this thing, although the clarity I think makes all the difference. But from a Reverb G2 and Vari Aero, the field of view in this is excellent. If you're coming from a Quest 3, then the field of view is quite similar. If anything, maybe the Quest 3 is slightly better, but you get a much worse binocular overlap, which Meta has sacrificed in order to get that field of view. But with the Crystal you get a really good overlap, but also a respectable field of view. I'm getting 102 degrees both sides, that is horizontal and vertical. The next point is, in my opinion, very important. I personally love integrated audio, and the Crystal Light does it really well, especially if you go for the DMAS speakers, which are an accessory. I would recommend you add them to your order, but you get really decent bass response. The body of those frequencies are very good from the mid-range to the treble, and the way they just sit off your ears, it keeps you cool, but you also get really decent quality audio. In many ways, Pimax did rip off the floating ear design of the G2 and Index, but you know what? I'm glad they did, because it's all the better for it. Right, I think we're at number 6 now. The sixth reason, and these aren't in any particular order by the way, the Crystal Light doesn't need a battery. If you're coming from the Quest 3, Pico 4, and even maybe the Crystal Standard Edition, I personally really do love the fact that I don't need to worry about a battery with this thing. The upshot is as well, because this doesn't have an XR2 chipset, there's less things to go wrong, and this is a lot more reliable. I switch this on and it works every single time, and that is a breath of fresh air, let me tell you. So if that is an important factor for you, then I must admit the Crystal Light is a superb choice, because you can just fly all day without having to think at all about batteries. Number 7 is the price. You cannot get a VR headset with a 35 ppd glass aspheric lens with a 2880 resolution QLED panel for any cheaper than this. And this panel is the same panel that's in the Somnium VR1. Now I will say, in the VR1's defense, that headset is a lot brighter, it is sharper and has better lenses and has a better field of view, so there's quite a lot of things there. But having said that, I still feel that the Crystal is right up there with the best, and considering the price, it is a high-end PC VR visual experience for a really good price. Now for my next point, even though this is a large headset, it is very comfortable. And even the standard Crystal, which is a lot heavier than this, is reasonably comfortable, and I can spend 2 or 3 hours in that, you know, no problems at all. I might have to sort of move it around a little bit, but overall it's fine. However, with this is extremely comfortable because it's just so light. The frontal weight, well, it's still there a little bit, but it's nowhere near as bad as other headsets, including that of the Quest 3, especially with the standard Velcro strap. I think the Quest 3 is one of the most uncomfortable headsets I've ever worn. The Somnium VR1 is very front heavy, while the Crystal Light is very balanced, and yeah, it just sits on your head like a cap, and it just feels great. For the next point, well, it's got to be the inside out tracking. I was a little bit worried when I first tried the Crystal Light, because it will be a different algorithm, different way of doing the tracking from the standard Crystal, I think anyway, due to the XR2 chipset. But it works really well, and especially for flight simulation, it is excellent. It's way better than even the XR4, which probably doesn't say a lot because the tracking there isn't great, but it just goes to show you that doesn't necessarily mean if you buy a more expensive headset it's going to be better tracking. I'm actually really impressed with the low light capabilities of the Crystal, and overall it will save you money because you don't have to buy base stations. So a great point there, especially if you're coming from a other solution that uses its own tracking. You know, thinking about it as I'm sat up here flying and enjoying the views, I could think of more than 10, but I'll just finish with this last point. I do feel the Crystal Light is pretty scalable, and that's thanks to the different refresh rate options. Hopefully soon there will be a 60 Hz mode, and even though that's not what I would personally enjoy, some people don't mind 60 Hz, and that means you can go as low as 30 frames per second locked or with motion reprojection. Even 70, is it 75 or 72 Hz? Can't remember now off the top of my head, but that is definitely an option, and that works really well as well. And of course you can scale it down, and even if you drop the native resolution, you're still going to get a really nice, beautiful image, which is going to be a massive upgrade if you're used to, say, the Riva G2 and Quest. Now before I go and land at East Midlands, there is a couple of things I don't like about the Crystal. Obviously the form factor, it's a great shame it's not smaller than this, but as I say, it is comfortable. There is some chromatic aberration, Again, it's not something that bothers me, but if you're really sensitive to it, then yes, it is there. What else? Of course, there's no eye tracking. So if you are a DCS World pilot, I would recommend going for the standard crystal, because dynamic foveated rendering does make a big difference, guys. It really does. So I think at that point, that will do, really. It's a very easy headset to recommend. If this video has been helpful to you, please feel free to use my affiliate link in the description below. But for now, thank you so much for watching. As always, I truly appreciate it. Please feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye bye for now.